What's up, man? It's Christian Hudson, and welcome to the Holiday Hookups New Year's edition. So, I got to tell you, as I think back over the last 4 or 5 New Year's Eves that I've either thrown in terms of parties that I've had or other people's parties that I've gone to, and they have been some of the best, most fun nights of my life. And I know that in my early 20s, I was like, New Year's Eve, it gets so hyped and it's, so overblown and it's such a letdown. But that's really because I just didn't know how to rock it the way that I do now. And I'm really hopeful that by taking some of the experiences I've had, a lot of the lessons that I've learned, and sharing them with you here, you're going to be able to have an awesome night of your own, and it's going to be just as incredible as some of mine have been, and that you'll be able to say the same for every new year from now until Lord knows when, certainly until you're not single anymore. So what we're going to do is, here's a little table of contents for you, is we're going to start by talking about your mindset. Now, this is really important, and this is something that I screwed up for a lot of my life, and it's why I had crappy New Year's. We're going to start by talking about that. Next up, we're going to make sure that you are prepared, that all your bases are covered, and that before you even leave for the evening, everything is good to go, and you know what you've got coming next. Next after that, we're going to be doing a little overview of your evening. So we'll actually be talking about, at this hour you're supposed to be doing this thing, and at this hour you're supposed to be doing this thing, and this hour that. And I'll give you kind of an hour-by-hour breakdown of how you should kind of optimally prepare for your evening. After that, we're going to go on and talk about how to make friends, because New Year's Eve is absolutely, definitely a time to make new friendships, new relationships, and connect with people. And the style of, quote-unquote game that I like to play in these times is very social. It's very outgoing, and it doesn't require you to be super smooth. It just requires you to be social. Finally, we'll talk about how to make your move on that one special girl, whether it's a girl who you've been friends with or a girl who you just met there that evening. And we'll talk about how to transition things from saying hello to her to quite a bit more. So that is an overview of the program, and with that, let's jump in and start talking about your mindset. All right, so as I mentioned, when I was a young lad, maybe of 21, 22, my mindset when I started off with New Year's, it was always like, man, I don't really know anybody. I'm just going out with 1 or 2 friends, and this is it's such a commercial event, and like it's so overblown, and everybody talks it up, but it's always a big letdown. And that was the biggest failure right there, was just where my head was at, and I was obviously preparing myself to be let down and to not have fun. And that, if I could get any one thing into you that's going to help you have the most enjoyable night, is that you got to have the right mindset going into it. So let's start at the start. Everybody wants to have fun on New Year's Eve. If you're going out, you want to have fun. Even if you're saying like, man, it's overblown. I mean, that was me, and I wanted to have fun. I just, didn't know how to do it. So if you start with the idea, hey, everybody who's out tonight wants to have fun, wants to enjoy themselves, then that's going to help your night just continue to be fun throughout the evening. You meet people, you just assume that they want to have fun. You've got a smile on their face. You expect to see a smile on theirs. Moving along a little bit beyond that, people also want to feel like it's New Year's Eve. I wrote a book years ago called Conquer Your Campus, and one of the most revolutionary things that we taught guys in it, and still teach guys in the book, is that in college, girls want to feel like they're in college. They don't want to feel like they're in the real world yet. And on New Year's, it's very much the same thing, as people want to feel like it's New Year's Eve. And what do you associate with New Year's Eve? Just pause for a moment right now and think about, what do you personally associate with New Year's Eve? Me, I think of things like countdowns, like champagne, like dancing, like confetti. Those are the sort of thing, those little horns that go, I obviously can't make the noise. But, those little party horns that people blow, those are the things that you associate with New Year's Eve. And we only get to do those things once a year. So those are the things that people are going to be looking for and that they want to experience on this particular evening. Furthermore, everybody is pretty open. Just about everybody you talk to is going to be very open to meeting new people, to smiling, to enjoying themselves. You compare this to any regular, Friday night or Saturday night at the bar, or some other nights when you might just go out. Sometimes people go out and they're just going out to get a drink or to hang out with their friends, but they're not really there to celebrate. They're not there to really smile and just dance the night away. So, that's very different than New Year's. On New Year's, everybody's there to smile, to dance, to have fun. Everybody is going to be open. And so this gives you a great opportunity to talk to a lot more people, to meet a lot of new people. And you just got to remember that when you're out. People are not closed off tonight. They are open up. They want to meet new people. And they're going to enjoy meeting you if you've got a smile on your face and some warmth in your heart. So, that's the long and the short of it. People want to have fun on New Year's, and you should want to have fun on New Year's, and that's where your mindset should be. In terms of a little, mental representation that you can give yourself about, like, what would be the ultimate pinnacle of this evening? Like, what's the visual representation that would say, like, I won this evening? And this is something that I set for myself years ago, and it's something I've experienced a few times, and it's awesome. So maybe this is something that if you want to shoot for it, you can shoot for it, or at least it's like a representation that even if it doesn't happen, if you shoot for it and you land a little bit short, it's still there. To me, like, my ideal self-representation on New Year's is that I'm like making out with the hottest girl in the room at the most visible location in the room while I'm popping a bottle of champagne, and then I like drink out of the bottle of champagne and give her some, and then I pass it to some friends and they drink out of it. So, one particularly specific example of this is one night, I was at a party and it was midnight and I had managed to summon everybody together and we were all doing the countdown together. I'm standing on a table. This is a house party. I'm standing at a table and there's a girl there with me. And as we began counting down, I grab her hand and I pull her up on the table and we all count down together. A bunch of my friends already have bottles of champagne because I've made sure that they do. We pass them around, midnight hits, kiss the girl, pop the champagne, the music keeps playing, the dancing starts. It was a great night. Is that going to happen to you tonight or tomorrow or whenever New Year's Eve is? Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but if you listen to some of this, there's a much greater likelihood that it will. So let's move along and step into talking about your preparation for the evening, because that moment doesn't happen by accident. That moment happens because it's planned and because you know what's coming and because you're prepared for it. So a few things that will make your life really easy after the party is that you've got a good after-party location. So, most New Year's Eve parties are going to be either at a bar/club or they're going to be at a house party. But you got to have somewhere to go after that party is over. And that could be at your own place. It could be at a friend's place. A couple times, it's been at my place, and I've had the party and the after party. It's like we'll have a separate part of the house set aside for, like, okay, when things quiet down and we want to chill out, maybe smoke some hookah or whatever, we're going to go over here, but not everybody's allowed to go over there. You got to be chill out. Maybe you have it at a friend's house, right? So a couple of you friends get together. You say, okay, hey, we're going to, set the lighting dim over here. We're going to get some girls. We're going to bring them back. And this is going to be the after party location. And maybe you just have it at your house and it's alone, and then you just tell a girl, hey, this is the after party location and we're going back there, and that'll work just fine. I'll tell you about how to do that in just a minute. The other thing that you want to make sure that you have is that you've got private quarters. And by private quarters, I mean a place where you and she specifically can go if you want to get a little bit more intimate. And this could be a room at your friend's house. This could be a room at your house. You just want to make sure that you've got this planned out, because if you don't have that, trust me, you can be with a girl. You guys could be, ready to, quote unquote, go, and you've got no place to go. So if you've got that planned out in advance, all the better. So that's a little bit of easy prep, right? Just knowing where you're going to take somebody. Next up, you want to dress up. It's New Year's. Like I said, everybody wants to experience New Year's the way it's meant to be experienced. I have a friend who wears a tuxedo every New Year's Eve, and very few other people in our social group wear tuxedos, but he does, and everybody absolutely loves it. Usually I'll wear, a really nice suit and a great tie, just anything that makes you look super sharp. And even if you're going to a party that's kind of chill, this is the one night of the year where you can totally get away with a tuxedo. And not only that, but all the guys will be jealous and all the girls will be looking at you because you're rocking the tux. Or again, if not the tux, then at least a really nice suit and a great tie. and just be dressed to the nines like you are going into the most important business meeting of your life. You're going to close a fucking deal, and you're going to like just, eat business people alive. So, that's a great way to dress. And if you have like a top hat, or if you have like a cane or anything that just adds to the, celebratory sort of 1920s, party vibe that seems to be emulated through the New Year's dress style, then that's going to be another, great thing that's going to get some attention on you that night. So if you want to rock a tux, by all means, go rent one. It'll do you well. Now, if you are going to a house party, then I would suggest that you bring champagne, and I'd suggest that you bring lots of it. You can never go wrong bringing drinks to a house party, but on this particular night, champagne is easily the win. And one thing that I learned over time is it's a lot better to bring 5 really cheap bottles of champagne than it is to bring one delicious bottle of like Veuve Clicquot, unless you can afford 5 bottles of Veuve Clicquot, in which case by all means go ahead and do it. But honestly, better to bring like 5 bottles that cost $5 to $10 each, or 6 bottles, or however many you can bring. Because what New Year's is really all about is it's not, hey, let's get around and savor some really great, 1989 Dom Perignon. It's like, hey, let's pop some bottles and enjoy life. And so the more bottles there are to pop, the more experiences you'll have popping bottles. And it's one of those weird things where like every time a bottle pops, people cheer and people have fun. People go, woo. And so, that is, for New Year's Eve, that's a far better experience, qualitatively than sipping on a really fine glass of champagne. Fine glass of champagne, that's great, that's fun, that's enjoyable, but most people aren't even really paying attention to that on New Year's. They're enjoying themselves, socializing, and so the coin, the currency is just what's creating the good time, what's creating fun. And so to get back to it, bring as many cheap bottles of champagne as you can and get prepared to pass them out and get prepared to pop them. So another thing that you can do if you're going to a house party, or even if you're going to a bar, you may be able to get away with this. Download my New Year's Eve mix. So a few years ago, I used to DJ a fair amount in New York, and I actually put together this mix for New Year's Eve, and it's just an awesome mix. It's got some great dance songs, and it's got like this really cool mashup that I actually got from a guy named DJ Earworm. And then like right as the ball drops, right at midnight, it starts to play New York, and then it goes from New York into Empire State of Mind, and it's like all perfectly mixed. And what you want to do is you want to play that at 12:50 and 19 seconds. So literally like find the countdown on TV, and you want to play it at 12:50 and 19 seconds. Or in other words, when there are 9 minutes and 41 seconds left to go before the ball drops. And if you don't get it absolutely perfect, that's fine. If you're off by a few seconds, that's okay. But you download the mix, listen to it, you'll see how it's so perfectly timed. And I played this a few times now, and every time everybody loves it. They just go nuts, and it creates the perfect vibe leading up to the night. So download that. I'm going to make it available, nearby this, wherever you download this. And, listen to it, make sure you know what it's all about, and make sure to be good for the party that you're going to. Another big one is get some rest. If you don't sleep much, by all means get some rest. Take a nap around like 2 or 3 p.m. on, New Year's Eve if you can. And just rest up a little bit. You don't want to be planning for a big night if you don't have enough energy to get you through the night. And trust me, I've done enough boot camps where I've had to just pour caffeine down my throat, and that never leads to a great night. A great night is one where I'm well rested, where I've got a little bit of caffeine in me, and it's fun, and I'm being social, but I'm not using it to prop me up. Most of the energy is my own. So by all means, get some rest before you head out if you're planning on having a big night. Another thing that I learned from doing these boot camps is a light meal or a medium weight meal. You don't want to eat anything too heavy. And you probably know this intuitively, but if you stuff a huge steak and a massive bunch of potatoes in your mouth, I mean, it's like you're going to be like fiending for caffeine afterwards to help you, during that digestion process. Chances are you might have gas. So, just like don't eat anything that gives you gas or that's going to make you feel like you've got a rock in your stomach before you go out. And I'd also caution against anything with garlic or anything with raw or uncooked onions, because you don't want nasty breath if you're planning on getting close to some girl. Another thing that will be really helpful in the prep work is connecting with the host in advance. So I'm going to give you some ideas about how to make the party rock. And if you are able to connect with the host of the party in advance and just say, hey, I'd love to get involved and I really want to make this a great night for everybody. I don't know if you need help hosting, or if you need help just keeping the party going, or if you need help like bringing in bags of ice. I mean, I'm not telling you to make yourself this person's bitch, but basically indicate, I want to help out and I want to make this party great. Now, if they ask you to, work at the coat check, then you're going to want to decline that one. But most hosts will say, absolutely, I'd love that. What did you have in mind? And then you're going to come back with some of the things that you share here and some of the things that you learn here. So we'll get into that in just a moment, but share some ideas about how you can make this party rock and how you can just have a great time with it. And your host is going to really appreciate that. Finally, you want to have some food at your place or at the after party location. Something a little heavier, like some pancakes, is always great. And then also something a little lighter, maybe like a quesadilla, or even some popcorn. Usually towards the end of the evening, especially if you've been drinking from like 9 o'clock onwards, there gets to be a point where you're like, okay, I want some food now, and I'm ready to like, eat a little bit, and chances are the girl's going to be feeling the same way. So if you have that there, that's fantastic. And the other thing that's great is bottled water. It's never a bad thing to have some bottled water around. So if you have all those things together, your prep work will be more or less completed, and you are bound to have a much better evening for having all those things prepared. The most important one of those, I would say, is the champagne. The second most important one of those is wearing a suit. And then they kind of follow on from there. Also getting some rest. Those are the top three. So that is your prep work. Let's move on and talk about how the evening is going to roll. And by the way, it's always funny when I sit here and talk in these microphones, because it's obviously just me talking to you. It's a monologue, and me just running my mouth. I feel like I should pause at this point and ask for questions, but since there are obviously no questions because nobody's listening as I record this, I'm just going to move on. So, an overview of your evening. I'm going to guess that you're going to show up at this party, wherever you're going, around 9 o'clock. That's pretty typical. Any earlier than that, and man, you're going to be ready to go by by midnight. And any later than that, and the strategy is going to get a little bit diverted. 10 o'clock at the latest, but you definitely don't want to show up later than 10 if you can avoid it. So you want to show up around 9. And if you don't know the host already, then you want to make friends with them. Obviously, you've already talked to them once a little bit. You've said, hey, I want to help out. But if you are showing up for the first time and you never met them, then introduce yourself for sure. And if it's at a bar or a club, then you want to ask who the manager is that evening. And you want to walk up, find that manager. You want to tip him straight away. Tip him or her. I would tip anywhere between $20 to $50 and just say, hey, really looking forward to having a great time tonight. I want to do everything I can to make sure that it's great for my for my friends, for all the people who I'm here with, for everybody who's here, and also for you. So, if there's anything that I can do, any way that I can help out, let me know. Otherwise, I just want to let you know I wanted to take care of you. And he or she is really going to appreciate that, because this is going to be a stressful night for them. And they're just going to be really happy to have somebody there who wants to make it a great night and who wants to help them out and who's mindful of the fact that it's going to be a stressful night for them. So make friends with them, and again, if it's at a bar or a club, tip them if you can, and just let them know that you're there for them and that you want to have a great time and you're going to be doing what you can. So moving on, from when you show up to about maybe 10:30 p.m., you want to be doing two things. And the first thing is you want to be making friends. The second thing is you want to be kind of selecting the girl who you're going to be spending the rest of your evening with. And ideally, the perfect way for this to roll is that you're going to make other friends from 9 to 10 p.m. and then you're going to kind of game this girl from 10 to 11. Now, those two are probably going to be mixed in there because there's going to be points when you're going to leave the girl and you're going to go to your friends. There's going to be points when you're exclusively talking to the girl, and you're kind of leaving your friends to do their thing. But ideally, you want to be very social for the first hour, just connecting with everybody. And then after you've been social for a while, you're going to select that one girl and you're going to start to get a little bit closer to her and build a connection. So I'll tell you exactly how to do that in a little bit, but just keep in mind, about an hour and a half being social, and then about 30 minutes to an hour and a half of working the girl. And then once it gets to about 10:30, 11, so somewhere between 10:30 and 11, you're going to start being social with the girl. So you want to have formed enough of a connection with her at that point to actually start taking her out to follow you around, like meeting your friends and like doing stuff with her, getting her to follow you around. So 10:30 to 11:30 p.m., you want to just be social with her. And she's getting into conversations with people and you're getting into conversations with people. This is basically the phase where you're starting to act like a couple with her, where, you're kind of following her, she's following you a little bit, and you guys are talking to people together. And she's pretty much by your side. Now, around 11:30, you want to say, hey, I got to take off for a second, and you want to go find the host. Go find the host of the party and, talk with them. Say, hey, listen, I know the midnight is coming up, and I just want to see if there's anything that you need, and anything that we got to do. And the chances are they'll tell you yes, no, whatever. Now at this point, what I would have done in the past is I would say, okay, well, listen, I've got like 6 bottles of champagne here, and what I'd love to do is hand them out to some friends and, really make for a memorable a ball drop. How do you feel about that? Depending on whose house it is, if it's like nobody wants champagne sprayed all over their room, but if they see that you're respectful, and if you say, and I'd love for you to participate in that, I saved the best bottle for you, chances are they'll want to be a part of it. And you really want to make the host a part of this. You can also tell the host at this point, especially if you're at a house party or if you're at a small bar. If you're at a big club, then the DJ's probably already got his New Year's mix picked out. But if you're at a smaller bar or something, then you want to have talked to the DJ at this point already as well and given him your New Year's mix. You can either burn that onto a CD or put it on a little flash drive and bring it in. Just tell him to listen to it. I trust you. I promise you he will be really impressed by it. And you probably want to go over him and talk to him too and be like, yo, man, like we're going to be doing this thing. Like you want to make this happen. And so you want to start rounding people up around 11:30. You want to round up the people who are going to be involved in making the ball drop a really memorable experience. So you're going to make sure the DJ is on board. You're going to make sure the host of the party is on board. And you're going to make sure that that your friends are on board. Anybody who you've met who's like really social and loud, or any of your close friends who you just want to be nearby. And so you're just going to be rounding them up. And what you'll probably do is you'll probably tell your girl, hang on one second. I gotta go do a little bit of prep work. And she's going to laugh at that. And then you'll come back to her, around 11:45, and you'll say, okay, like business is taken care of. Everything's looking good. She'll be like, what's going on? What happened? And you just say, hey, just prepping for the ball drop, want to make it a good time, want to get some good music going, all that. Little wry smile on your face, and, just going back to having fun with her. Now, obviously, if you're playing my song, then around 10:50, the song is going to come on, and you're going to smile at her, and you're going to say, all right, music's on, here we go. And she's going to ask you about the music, and you're going to tell her that your friend Christian is a DJ, and that you got it from him, and it's a special New Year's mix, and it's just really, really cool. But basically between 11:45 and leading up to the ball, you just want to be, again, being social. The energy is going to be moving up in the room, and you want to be, moving your energy up along with it. There's definitely some things you're going to be doing with the girl at this point. You're going to be increasing your physical polarity with her. You're going to be just getting closer, making a lot more eye contact. We'll get into all this stuff in a second. Now let's get some specifics. You're going to play the song around 11:50. You're going to gather the crowd nearby and prep for the countdown. So, chances are you'll have the countdown on a TV somewhere. You're just going to try to gather the crowd together. Make sure that your girl is nearby. And then once the ball starts to drop, you're going to make it happen. And if she's nearby, if everything's been going well up to this point, then a kiss should be forthcoming. At that point, you're just going to have fun, man. Party and dance from about midnight to about 2 a.m. And it's certainly in New York. I mean, we like to go pretty late, but I find 2 a.m. is a good enough time for, hey, we've been having fun, we've been drinking, we've been enjoying ourselves, and it's time to get out of here. You definitely, in this time period, you want to give the girl a little bit of space. So there's going to be times when you're going to want to be close to her. There's other times when you're going to want to give her some space to go off, find her friends, dance with them, and you're just going to want to be social. You're going to be wanting to be celebrating with your friends, with other guys, with other girls you meet. By this point, a lot of people at the party should know you, and you should have a big smile on your face, and you should just be spreading a lot of love and good cheer, and a lot of happy 2013s, and putting your arms around people, taking photos, stuff like that. And you can connect with her, disconnect with her, connect, disconnect. At a certain point, maybe around 1:30, you want to start getting a little bit more seductive with her. Now, if you're the type to move really fast and she's feeling it and you're feeling it, you can always go find a bathroom and see what comes about there. You can definitely do some other things to turn her on. Just kind of like rubbing her, touching her, putting your hands in various places. And this is a little outside the scope of the course. But basically you want to just start being seductive with her. And and then at a certain point when you feel she's ready to go, and when you're ready to go around 1:30 to 2 o'clock, it's time to just extract. And you can say, hey, let's get out of here. I've got an amazing after party we got to head to. Or let's get out of here. Bring your friends. We got this awesome after party we've got going on. Or, if it's just you and her and you guys are feeling it, hey, let's get out of here. I've got some awesome wine back home just waiting for us. Or let's get home. I got some awesome pancakes. You've never had pancakes this good. Basic extraction techniques, just giving some sort of reason for why you're going to get out of here, and being pretty firm about it. Hey, let's get out of here. Let's go have fun. So that's how your night's going to go. You're welcome to review that, and I hope you took some notes on that, so you could, kind of follow along as I was going through it. So let's move on to talk about how to make friends with people in this particular evening. Now, this is going to apply just about any night that you go out and interact with people. But, particularly on New Year's, there's some things that you can do that are going to make it a lot easier to be really social. First one, of course, if you're at a party, a house party, just ask people, how do you know the host? Right? So that's the easiest question. How do you know the host? And it's great if you have a funny story about, how you know the host. You can say, oh, we were on Family Double Dare together. He was on the blue team. I was on the red team. That's always a funny way to tell how you know somebody. And then you actually get into your real story. But you should always have a funny response to, how do you know the host? If it's not at a house party, if it's at a bar or a club or something, just asking people, how did you guys decide to come here tonight? Like, how did you end up here? And most people will have a stupid answer like, oh, we looked at junebug.com and this party looked good, or, this is where the cheapest tickets were, whatever. They'll probably, ask you, so you just, if they give you shit, then just, you don't want to be like, oh, cool. If they don't give you a great answer, just be like, okay, cool. And then they'll probably ask you, well, how about you? And, so you're going to reply something kind of cocky. You're going to be like, oh, well, it was this or Richard Branson's party on the private jet, but, they paid me more to be here. So just slightly cocky statements like that, again, they'll get you a laugh, and then, get into the real stuff. And then, certainly you want to, as you're talking to people, you want to offer some champagne. Hey guys, let's go get some champagne. Or if it's a house party, and you brought the champagne, hey, can I get you some champagne? You can also do the same with shots. Let's do a New Year's shot together. And, that's always a great way to go. I'll give you some toasts to do with people in just a minute. But shots are great just to kind of get the social energy going. And I'll make a brief aside here. Some people don't drink, and that's fine. I have found that the social style of game, drinking is a huge lubricant, and I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean that in a social way. Especially as a DJ, you see this. Whenever I DJ parties, what happens is my goal is to work with the host to have him get people drinking while I'm playing music, because music without drinking, it goes okay, but people usually have a lot more fun, get a lot more into it when there's drinking involved. On the flip side of it, if people aren't drinking, or if people are drinking and there's no music, they're going to want to get out of there soon. It starts to get boring. So Um, I just find that getting people to take shots, it always loosens them up. It always opens them up. It always gets them having a good time. So it's never bad. And if you want to bring something to take shots with, I also advise that. One of my favorite things is 3 Olives bubblegum vodka. That's always really good. And Effin Black Cherry Vodka. That's EFFEN, Black Cherry Vodka. Those are both great things to take shots with. The 3 Olives is a little cheaper and it's a little more sugary. I don't love it, but girls freaking love it. So let's see. Another great thing to talk about with everybody who you meet is, guys, what are your resolutions? What are New Year's resolutions for the year? And most people, again, they'll have no idea. You always want to have funny or absurd answers. So 3 of my favorite answers for this are, I'm really resolved to give more money to ugly people this year. So that one will always get a laugh. You can say, I'm finally going to kick that addiction to Splenda. That's another really good one. And then this is one of my favorites. So I used to live in Ann Arbor, and there was a city right next door called Brighton. And you're going to say, I really want to travel more. See, I've never been over to Brighton. So, most people when they say I want to travel more, it's like I want to go to France or I want to go to Asia. So you just say, I want to travel more. I want to go to that city next door. And so little things like that. I'm sure you can come up with your own or you're welcome to use mine. But, having an absurd answer is always a great way to get a laugh. And then what you're going to do, so you're going to do this with a lot of different groups. You're going to find that there's a lot of different groups in the room, and you want to, move amongst them. And you want to basically play this game, if you will, a few times, maybe 5, 6, 7 different times. Walk up, ask how they know the host, ask how they decided to come to the party. Maybe you're not going to want to do shots with every single group, but, share some champagne, talk about resolutions, maybe take a photo together. That's always a great way to bond. And then talk about what your resolutions are. And after you've done all this, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the group. You're going to be like, man, I love you guys. You came to this party. This is awesome. You came to have fun. We're going to have a great night together. And you see, then you're going to kind of leave the conversation, and not just like super abruptly, but you want to leave with some good feelings. So, man, I love you guys. You came to party. This is just going to be an awesome night. I can feel it. And if they're feeling it too, then that's great. And now you've started to make connections. So you make connections with them. You're going to make some connections with other people. And I find that the easiest way to do this in terms of a broader strategy is to start with the group that looks the most open. Okay, so it might not be the most attractive group in the room. You just want to find the group that looks the most open, the one that looks like they're having the most fun, or at least want to have the most fun. And you can start by talking to them, and then they're going to start having fun, and other eyes are going to land on you. And once you get eye contact from other people, it's really easy to go introduce yourself to a new group. So you're kind of making yourself the host of the party, and nobody knows who you are, but soon everybody knows who you are, and they just know that you're the guy who's really looking forward to having fun, who wants everybody to have fun, and who's spreading a lot of goodwill and a lot of fun. So that's going to get all the eyes on you. Now, how are we going to get that girl? Let's transition into this chapter of the program. You've noticed up to this point that this is a really social style of interacting with people. It's not like, just stand in the corner, wait till the girl passes by, trip her, and then pull her off into the bathroom or something. This is talking to everybody. And so what's going to happen is inevitably you're going to talk to some girls, and you're going to find a girl who you really want to make your own. Now, you're going to be introducing yourself to a lot of people. Hey, what's up? I'm Christian. What's your name? What's your name? Oh, nice to meet you, so-and-so. When you finally see a girl who you're into and who you're like, okay, this is the girl who I want to make it happen with, you want to give her really deep eye contact, but other than that, no real special attention. You can also do sometimes you'll do kisses on the cheeks, and when I'm meeting girls, I'll lean in, I'll give them a little kiss on the cheek. But you don't want to give this girl any more special attention than you give anybody else in the room. Now, if you brought your own alcohol, or if you've got alcohol at your table or anything, you want to definitely offer her a drink along with everybody else, but you don't want to just buy her a drink. In fact, you probably want to give her the drink third or fourth or wherever she is in line. You don't want her to be the first one. You're like, oh, can I buy you a drink? The whole point of this, and this theory is probably not new to you if you follow this advice, is you want her wondering, why isn't this guy falling all over me? because usually guys are falling all over the pretty girls, or they're just like too nervous to even talk to them or look at them. You just want to treat her like any old other person who is in the room. It's really not that hard. The mystery of nines and tens is revealed right there. Just treat her like anybody else in the room, no better and no worse. Now, the next thing that you want to do, though, is you do want to make friends with, usually like the girl who you're going to want is going to have like a really social friend. And you're going to want to make friends with this girl, and you're going to want to give her a big hug. At a certain point, you're going to say, I absolutely love you. You came to party, didn't you? And she's going to be like, yeah, I came to party. And you just give her a big hug and look at her almost to the point where her friend thinks like, man, like, this guy kind of likes this girl, doesn't he? And she's getting jealous that her friend is getting the attention and not her. And sometimes you need to bring this out of the friend. Sometimes the girl who you want is the really social one. So you're almost going to be giving your attention, however it shakes out. You want to be giving your attention to the girl who is less likely to get hit on than the hot girl in the group, if that makes sense. Like let's just make it real simple. If there's a hot girl and an ugly girl, you want to be giving your attention to the ugly girl. If there's a hot girl, two semi-attractive girls, and a third who's just super social, give your attention to the super social girl. The point is, you want to be giving your attention to somebody and not quite gaming them, not quite lavishing your attention upon them, and certainly not getting sexual with them, but just like laughing a lot and smiling a lot with them and almost complimenting them, not on like how great they look or not on how sexy they are, but just like, man, I love your attitude. I love your vibe. Almost like you'd give, a friend or a sister or something like, I'm so glad you're here. It's just great to have you here tonight. So that's going to get the girl curious about you. And, what you can do is you can leave the group, and I promise you her eyes will continue to be on you as you're socializing with other people. Or you can stay in the group, and I typically would like to leave the group. So I'd leave the group for 5, 10, 15 minutes. I'd let her wonder about me. Then I'd go back and I'd say, you know what, I didn't get a chance to know you, and you're very interesting to me. And then that's when I would get a chance to know her. So at that point, you've built up a lot of value, so you can ask, pretty boring questions to start. Same thing, like what brought you here, and then you're going to kind of go on, how are you friends with these people, tell me about how you and so know each other. Oh gosh, like great childhood memories, huh? Talk a little bit about yourself. Again, the specifics of talking to girls are a little outside the scope of this program. There's a lot of that in Say Hello, so you can go reference that. But you're just going to be basically talking with her. Nothing complicated. You're not trying to overgame her. And a lot of the stuff that's going to be happening, you want to happen under the surface. So eye contact, physical polarity, those are two big concepts from Fearless. Now, once you're starting to make a good connection with her, you want to get something that we call compliance. So compliance is where somebody starts following you around and following your lead. So there's a lot of simple ways that you can get compliance with the girl. One of them is just basically tell her, hey, come here. Right? So you see her across the room, you catch her eye contact looking at you, you're going to like wave to her, and you're going to like motion her over. You're going to smile and kind of, not wag your finger like a, wicked old witch, but just, use your hand in a big friendly motion, like tell her to come over here, so if she does that, fantastic, that's a great sign of compliance right there. And you can do that once or twice, even as you've got to know her and as you're starting to be social. Maybe you have her come over to the bar as you're ordering a drink, and you say, hey, I'm ordering a drink. What do you want? Or maybe you are with some friends, and you're like, hey, I want you to meet my friends. They're awesome guys. Like, come here. And, of course, when you introduce her to friends, be like, hey, this is so-and-so. She's my, future ex-wife. You can use little one-liners like that, little jokes. You can also get her working with you. So as you start, handing out champagne to people, if you need to open a bottle of champagne, or even if you need to open a drink, you can be like, hey, can you pop that bottle of champagne? Those are little things that if a girl works with you, fantastic. If you're handing out party favors, if you're handing out those little, blowy things that people blow into. Hey, you want to give these to five of the most fun people in the room, or like give this to your loudest friend. She's going to absolutely love it. So just giving her little tasks to do, that's a huge one. Certainly getting her answering your questions. I mean, that's going to be a big part of it. Getting her to follow you around. So, it could just be getting her to join you as you walk through the room and make rounds. Maybe after you've been talking for 15, 20, 30 minutes with the girl, you say, hey, you know what? Let's go make some rounds. We've been getting to know each other, and it's awesome. But it is New Year's Eve. We should go talk to some other people. So just getting her to follow you around. Getting her to take a private shot with you. So that's always a good one, is if you can get her to take a shot with you. And you want to be doing a lot of toasting together. Okay, so you're obviously going to be toasting with everybody who you're talking to, but you can be toasting with her. And here's 3 example toasts. I would challenge you to come up with some great ones of your own. But here are some really easy sample toasts. Is you could say like, hey, cheers to an awesome 2013 or 2014 or whatever year it's going to be. So that's an easy one right there. It's just fun. Another one that I like is, cheers to making out earlier and waking up later. So making out and waking up, they kind of sound similar, and it's just a funny twist. Cheers to making out earlier and waking up later. So that's always a good one. You want to look them in the eye when you say that. It'll always get a laugh. And depending on where you are with the girl, you could go right into kissing her right there. Another one that I love is cheers to new friends and new lovers. May they occasionally be the same. And that's just going to, especially if you do that with a girl, it's going to confuse her in the best possible way. She'll wonder, does he think of me as a friend? Does he think of me as a lover? A great toast to do if you're in a group is, this one's really, really funny. You guys, cheers, guys, to waking up in jail. Never again. And, if you've been to jail, then you probably don't want to do that. Or maybe you do, but that one works really well for me because, if you know me, if you've seen me, it's pretty obvious I've never spent a night in jail in my life. So that sort of thing is, it works because it's a non sequitur, and it's just absurd and amusing. But that one always gets a good laugh. So you can be toasting with the girl. Definitely, that's always a great way to go. You do it. You want to do it before New Year's. You want to do it after New Year's as well. And you can do an occasional toast. If the night's going really well, like after midnight, and you guys have been kissing a little bit, toast her and just say, "To an amazing night with you," and just leave it at that. And, a little sparkle in your eye. Beyond that. So there's obviously the point where you're going to have to, make your move. Now, the easiest way to do this is just to isolate her into some, corner of the room, or that sounds terrible. Isolate her into a deep, dark corner. No, but you do want to isolate her somewhere that she's a little bit away from her friends, and or where you just guys have like a little bit of quiet and personal space. You're going to be wanting to use a lot of physical polarity, which is where you're getting close, moving in, moving out. You're going to want to definitely be touching her a little bit more. It could be as simple as rubbing the back of your hand on her arm, just increasing physical touch. And, I'll give you a few examples of how this has worked out in my life is, one time at a party, I kind of found a chair that was in the corner, and I sat down in the chair, and I was just texting for a second, and I saw the girl out of the corner of my eye, and, just so you wave at her, and you just say, hey, come over here. And have her come over and, sit on your lap. It can be just as easy as that. And that was, all it took on that particular evening. Another time, the girl I was interested in was talking to another guy. And I, again, just kind of went into the corner, sat down and reflected for a little bit and just got deep in thought and, found her making her way over to me. So that's a really good sign if a girl's into you, she makes her way over to you. That's great. If there's a kitchen, you can go into the kitchen. You can be looking for some water. What's really good, what really works well for these situations, and what's really a little litmus test of if the girl's into you or not, is you've been Mr. Social, and now you just stop being social all of a sudden, and it really confuses her. She's like, "Huh? What? Is there something wrong with this guy? Did I piss him off?" It's a little bit mysterious. If you just go into the kitchen and you're having water all of a sudden, she's gonna be like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" Just be like, yeah, everything's great. Everything's fine. How are you doing? And, it's just as easy as that. You can also just kind of have a moment of silence where you're talking to each other and you look into each other's eyes and it's a little bit awkward and she knows it's a little bit awkward, but you both kind of know, we're into each other a little bit. And, in those moments of silence, I find it's really easy to just, look at a girl, kind of grab her hand and say, hey, come here for a second. Just pull her in and give her, the smallest little kiss. Be like, that's nice. Interesting. So, then just lean back and smile and kind of see where it goes from there. You might go in for the kiss again, or you might not. It's up to you at that point. And that brings us to the kiss. You want to go for the kiss when it makes sense. You don't have to wait until after New Year's, or you don't have to wait until the ball drops. And sometimes you want to wait till after the ball drops. I actually had one particular night where the ball dropped and we were all just celebrating and partying, and there was definitely a girl who I had my eye on, but we just weren't there at that point. Things had not progressed yet to that point. But about an hour later, basically after New Year's, I realized this, and I was like, okay, well, I need to isolate myself a little bit, be a little bit mysterious. So I just went to the corner of the room, did some reflection, and sure enough, she made her way over, and that was that. And you, from that point, you guys have kissed. It's after New Year's. At that point, you probably want to party and you want to dance. And you just want to have fun, whatever that might be. I've been to other parties where we had a big kickball in the apartment. And we were just passing the kickball around, stuff like that. And you really want to let yourself get into it. This is a point that I don't want to escape anybody here. Is it, obviously it's great if you spend an awesome evening with an awesome girl on New Year's and everything works perfectly. But it doesn't always work absolutely perfectly. Like I said, there's one time when I didn't kiss her until after midnight. There was another time when a girl left early, and I thought I'd be spending the night together with her, but I didn't. So I had to find someone else. So these things happen, and it's not always going to go perfectly according to plan. And I just want to remind you that even if it doesn't, keep enjoying yourself, man. This is your life. It's your new year. And, let her have a little bit of space and you have your space and you just enjoy yourself with your friends. And then the final point here is when it does make sense, you want to get her out of there and you want to say, hey, all right, let's get out of here. And I've already told you how to do that. All you got to say is hey, we've got an awesome after party over at such and such spot. Or, hey, I'll tell you what, I know where we can get the best pancakes in the world right now, and I'm dying for some pancakes. Or, if you're really seductive with her, just hey, let's get out of here and find somewhere a little bit more private. You'll find that girls are generally more open on New Year's, and if they've been having a good night with you, they'll probably roll with that. So those are the high-level things of how to hook up on New Year's. It's really, I got to tell you guys, it's not hard if you get your mindset right, if you get into a good mood and you follow some of these simple social game tips and you just don't make any, ridiculous errors. Now all four of those things I know at points in my life, I would have failed on all four of those counts, but at least I'm hoping that this is going to get you a lot of the way there and give you a lot of ammunition that you need. And remember, I just want to make this final point. I said it a minute ago, but New Year's is all about enjoying yourself too. Don't get too drunk. Don't get, too emotional. Don't go overboard. Just have a ton of fun and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the people you're with and who are around you, and the fact that you live to tell about another year. So I hope you have an amazing New Year's after you listen to this, and definitely want to hear any stories that come out after this one. So thanks again, and I will talk to you soon.